Hello, 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 and welcome to Geoscope on Hughes the World, and I'm joined, as nearly always, by Ollie Bowlerhatman. How you doing, Ollie? Haven't seen you
I'm
for a
all
bit.
right.
Are you
I'm
all
all
right?
right. Yep,
Have you been running around having a good time this summer, doing
I
D and
have
D, rolling
as,
dice,
as best you can.
or is it rolling die? I don't know. What's the plural of dice? Is the plural a
just
single? Is it two
yeah,
die
just
and
rolling
one?
a die.
You roll one die. You
Die. Yeah,
roll
you
and you
roll one
die.
die.
You roll the die and you die. Okay, cool. Well, listen, Ollie, we've got a load of cool people waiting in the chat, so thank you very much for everyone being quite patient. My dad's being attended to in the other room. You might be able to hear him on the microphone. He's all right. He's all right. Okay, so we've got Reverend Caffey in the chat. We've got Simon Smith. We've got Diz. We've got, who else? We've got Sarah Davis, who says, Hi, Graham. Hi, Ollie. If you'd like to join our friendly friends in the friendly chat, all you need to do is hit the big friendly subscribe button and wait for approximately 1 minute, and you can join the chat. So, Ollie, the first thing I want to talk about today is a quite worrying news. Sorry, my dad's trying to cough. Um, Quite worrying news coming out of Jerusalem, out of Israel. Jordan has called an emergency meeting of the Arab and Muslim foreign ministers over what it describes as an imminent threat to the al-Aqsa Mosque compound. So for those who don't know, quick, Cliff York Notes style thing. The cliff, the al-Aqsa Mosque was built where the old Jewish temple used to stand in Jerusalem. All that's left is a temple. Is what's called the Western Wall or the Wailing Wall, and there's a mosque built on top of it, and it's really, really important to Muslims because it is the place that Muhammad apparently ascended to heaven on a horse with a woman's face. Anyway, so it's really holy to them. It's the third most holy site after Mecca and Medina, and they don't they want to keep hold of it. It's known to the Jews as Temple Mount. And the long-standing status quo permits Muslims to pray there, while non-Muslims may visit, but they're not allowed to worship. But more than 2,000 Jewish nationalists recently entered the compound, accompanied by Israeli National Security Minister and former prisoner for terrorism, Ben-Gvir. Participants prayed, displayed Israeli flags, and sang the Israeli national anthem under police protection. And there is a worry that any formal change to the administration of the Al-Aqsa Mosque could destabilize Jordan and provoke a much wider religious conflict. And I'll just point out that the reason why one of the many reasons why things are like the way they are in the Middle East at the moment is because after there was a Jewish, an Israeli government minister who visited the Al-Aqsa Mosque when they weren't supposed to, and that's what triggered the first Intifada. That's back when Yasser Arafat was still around, so that was like 25 years ago or something. Ben-Gvir, guy who was in jail for terrorism, causing trouble again, and this is a bit of a worrying development because the big schism, obviously, in the Middle East is religion,
Yeah,
in it, Ollie.
yeah. I mean, it seems to me very, very much so to be provocative. I think that's the whole reason behind that. Behind it, I think that we've got elections coming up in October, November, I believe, for
Yeah,
Israel as well. So they are certainly trying to at the moment because they look like that they might be on the way out. They might lose power, that Netanyahu is going to lose the presidency, which is going to be big problems for him because I think we've talked before about
prime
how
minister. They don't have a president. Prime minister.
yeah, prime minister,
Stop
yeah,
being the prime
they've
minister.
got yeah,
Well, big problems for him as well, Ollie, because he's
yeah,
got a load of criminal charges
yeah, he's
hanging
got a
over
load of
him,
criminal
and they're waiting
convictions. Yeah,
until he's not a politician before they can go forward with the investigation. Which is funny because we've got a politician called Nigel Farage, who there was an investigation into him, and they had to stop it because he stopped being a politician. I wish they'd make their minds up.
yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted. Go on.
But yeah, it is. I think just to be provocative,
Yeah,
I think it is, meant to be that way. You've just had a recent situation as well where in southern Lebanon they've actually just blown up a Crusader castle that was with built back in like the 1100s. It's important historical
Yeah,
sort of
yeah,
site
yeah,
there. So just blowing up UNESCO heritage sites, not very not very good on that one as a whole, quite frankly. These webs these sites should be protected. Um, so it is a bit of a well, it is a bit of an absolute disaster that they've destroyed it, because
yeah.
things like
Well,
that, once they're
they haven't
gone,
destroyed
they're
it.
gone.
They blew stuff up nearby, but they did cause damage to the structure.
Yeah.
700 tons of explosives. They let off really close to it, and this is it's called the Beaufort Castle. It's a place of pilgrimage for Christians as well. Do you know what I mean? It's not, and don't forget, half the population, well, not quite half, but a big chunk of the population of Lebanon is Christian.
Mm.
And this seems crazy to me that that Israel is it's like the guy from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy who's going around insulting everyone in alphabetical order. It's just going around pissing everyone off. Like literally everyone who's like people who got no skin in the game. They're like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing this? Why are you being provocative at this time?" And we should mention that earlier this week we had Trump, or last week now, Trump saying, "Oh, we're gonna have a peace plan with Hamas. Hamas have agreed to put their weapons beyond use," and Hamas are like, "Yeah," and Israel's like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
I mean, how many times does Trump have to be fooled by people telling him, "Yeah, sure, mate, whatever," and then he goes on TV and he makes a big speech about it. And then they just turn around 5 minutes later going, "No, it's bollocks." Israel does it.
Yeah.
Iran does it.
It's
Hamas does it.
not yeah, it's not they're not doing proper diplomacy, because you would
Yeah.
think that you would get all this stuff signed off and done,
Yeah.
and then you would make the announcement. But
Mm.
no, the Trump administration pattern for diplomacy is you
Announce
do
first.
something,
Yeah.
you don't even necessarily get them to say yes to the proposal,
Yeah.
but you just announce it anyway and expect them to then sign it. That's not how diplomacy works in this regard. And you've seen this throughout the whole Iran situation, where,
Yeah.
bear in mind, it's Iran, so they have reason to like lie as well, when the US the US administration has been going out and say, "Oh yeah, we've got this deal in place, this deal in place," and Iran comes out and go, "What? We haven't been uh negotiating with them at all. What is this? Well, who have they been negotiating with?" It's just a weird, I think it's a really weird flex on like the Iranians that they try to do, and I don't understand the move where they go, "We haven't been negotiating with them at all," when
Yeah.
they very clearly have
Yeah.
on that front. In fact, we just had, I think today, their I think prime minister as threatening to resign over these new talks. So
So which prime minister's that?
it is, oh, what's his
No,
face?
I mean, what? Sorry, which prime minister are we talking about? I don't need the name. What?
Yeah, Iran.
Oh, Imran.
Can't remember his name now.
I mean, it's fine.
It's gone completely out of my
Yeah.
head.
But it's because interestingly in Iran they have a president, don't they? They have a prime minister, and they also have the supreme leader, the Ayatollah, and they're like three different things going in three different directions. And it looks like the Trump administration's like calling up one of them and going, "Hey, can we get a peace deal?" And they're going, "Yeah, sure." And then someone else down the line said, "No, we didn't say that. No one asked us. No, we're not having peace." But the US and Qatari officials have been saying today that progress has been made towards restoring the ceasefire and reopening the Strait of Hormuz. And I think that Trump is having a bit of a breakdown over this, because I don't think he can envision, how much was it that was offered to Iran? Was it $400 million? Was it?
I think so, something like that. It was quite an amount of money. I think it was like four to 300. I think something like that. Well,
And
not four. Yeah, it was quite a lot of money.
He can't envisage like somebody turning down that kind of money, because he's so money driven. He's like, well, why would anyone turn that down? That would be crazy. Yeah. Like, what?
The biggest problem in all this is the fact that you've got an internal fight going on between Rubio and Vance, And that is one of the biggest problems of these negotiations, because
Yes.
Rubio, he's the guy in charge of the State Department, and instead of actually being there and negotiating with Iran, he's over in Jerusalem trying to talk with Israel and Lebanon.
Yeah.
But then you've got Vance, and he's the one who
Yeah.
seems to be doing all the negotiating between
And Vance
the
isn't happy
US
about it, is he, mate?
and
So,
Iran,
so just a little
and
fact
they
checker.
keep on undermining each other.
Yeah, well, just to go back, we meant billion. Sorry, not million. It was 300 billion investment funds that America was going to put into that. All the countries in the Gulf countries were going to put into this fund for the rebuilding of Iran, and like they've walked away from it. They've gone, we don't care. We've got bigger fish to fry. We don't care about. And like it is, I think Trump has had his tiny mind blown by the fact that the Iranians, because he's got it in his head that he's this great deal maker, and he's not. And how many times, Ollie, do we have to see him fail to make
Yeah.
deals time and time again? Because he doesn't understand other
Yeah.
human beings. He's got no empathy. He doesn't understand what makes other human beings
Yeah, he
tick.
doesn't understand not only that, he doesn't understand like other, governments. So
Yeah.
Iran, their entire like, there's in Iran they have two factions of like hard right governments. They've got
Yeah.
the really hardliners who are like, we will not surrender, we will like keep this going forever.
Fight to the last man.
And then you've got like the more moderates who are like, no, we should like negotiate because we have the potential to be like quite a good economic prosperous country.
Yeah.
But we need to like cool it on all this, anti-US stuff a bit, and just turn not like completely, turn it off, but just turn the heat down just a little bit when we talk about, hating America. That's what they want.
Yeah.
And it's been in Iran, they've had their own internal struggles as well by the sounds of it. I mean, how that has affected sort of negotiations, I'm not 100% sure, because not at least people are keeping a bit tight-lipped about how those fractures have affected the negotiations with America. The Iranian Prime Minister is Masoud Pezeshkian. I think that's how you say it. I'm probably not how you say it all.
Not Prigozhin.
But
he was the
not
he was the
Prigozhin.
Russian guy who got blown out of the sky.
Yeah, playing with a grenade mid-flight.
It's the way that most of us just want to go in it, really. We're throwing a grenade around and then the plane just exploded. normal things. This was the guy who was in charge of Wagner group in Russia, who was Vladimir Putin's best mate until he wasn't, and then he was dead. Anyways, go on.
But yeah, the story that's come out about this today is he has been sort of threatening to resign, apparently, over these negotiations. He has been very, very much calling all these like negotiations futile, like we shouldn't be doing this. So it shows you, just as much as there is like this, as we talked about in America, you've got Vance and Rubio having their own separate peace talks about the same thing while trying to like completely undermine each other, because this is going to be like a pillar of when they run when they launch their campaign to run for president in the end of 2027, 2028. You've now got in Iran, those two factions completely now seems to be undermining each other as well. So this honestly seems to be a massive mess with almost, instead of like two sides sitting down to talk with each other, it's two sides sitting down to talk with like two other factions behind them, and no one can agree on a direction, what they actually want from this conflict, because that's one of the biggest stopping points for like Trump. He doesn't really know what he wants.
He doesn't know what he wants, does he?
So there's no end game for.
Also, he's obviously not all there, and I think he's got a bit of a goldfish memory. He doesn't remember what he said or did the day before, so he just wakes up. It's like 50 First Dates with Drew Barrymore. He just wakes up and he's like, I think who are you? What are you doing in my house? Ah!
I think you go back to the fact that Rubio and Vance are arguing with each other.
Yeah,
they've got two very competing different ideas of what they see this war ending. So they can't agree on one side, and then in Iran you've got a very similar situation going on as well. So
yeah,
who knows how this will actually really come to an end? But this is going to be one of those things that you see probably get, written about by, experts for and studied about for like the next decade. Like,
yeah,
this is how you don't do diplomacy, on the books.
yeah.
So,
It's
yeah,
crazy, isn't it?
over and all, it's not good. I mean, we had recently,
It's not unexpected though, is it, Ollie? I mean, we were
no,
kind of expecting
it's not,
this.
yeah,
You
it's
know,
not, it's
we thought they'd
completely,
be
yeah,
incompetent and evil,
yeah.
and here they are being incompetent and evil. Before we go on, can I just acknowledge we got a couple of super chats in?
Oh,
First of all, Puninator, thank you so much for the £2 super chat and the question. Breaking news. Oh, my super chat thing is in the wrong place. There you go. Oh God, it's
oh,
massive as well. I'll have to sort that out before I press it again. Puninator, £2 super chat there. Breaking news: bowler hat missing. Where is it, man? Where's the bowler
too
hat,
hot.
man?
That's too hot.
It's too hot. It's
Too
too hot
hot,
for the
too
bowler.
hot to wear
It's
it.
a bit too
Nah,
hot for
too hot to
this.
wear it.
The doors are open at the back here. I'm like proper sweating here. I'm not in my normal cold house in Durham, which is freezing.
I've just got a fan here going whirring away.
I was playing Mario Kart with my niece earlier, and we were sitting under there's two skylights, and the sun was just cooking us, but we didn't want to move because we were too into the game. By the time we finished, we were both like, should we move? And she's like, yeah, let's move. It's been a mad day. We just had a bit of a thunderstorm here in Liverpool. I don't know if anyone experienced that, but I don't think we had a flash flood or anything. But it was a bit manic for a few minutes. Brad W8, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Iranian men, hallelujah. Iranian men, amen. Are you trying to make like it's raining men, hallelujah? It's raining men. Amen. It's a crazy situation. So, do you have another point on that before we finished off talking about Iran and the Strait of
Yeah,
Hormuz?
I mean,
Nacho, not a
I think the
chance.
whole point of
Hormuz
this is
opens.
that every single time we talk about this, something has happened, and we're like right back to square one. So,
Yeah,
you know, next week, expect us to be like, yeah, this has happened, and we're right back to square one, even though they said, the the Strait of Hormuz was open. So, yet another episode on,
yeah. Well,
the Strait of Hormuz.
Puninator says, I don't see the war with Iran officially ending. It'll mostly be both sides stop fighting because of lack of resources, but neither actually admit to it. It's over. I was talking about this last week with Mike. America is running out of missiles.
Yeah.
It's used up so much of its stock of missiles because it never thought it would be doing a mad war like this where it would have these, £2.50 drones coming over and having to spend £1 million per rocket taking out these £2.50 drones from Argos. And it's like, we talk about asymmetrical warfare. I mean, this is a really good example of it. Hey, I tell you what, though, there was some really disturbing footage out of Ukraine today
Yeah.
of a Russian drone that followed a Ukrainian down the road, like just a Ukrainian civilian down the road, and it was horrific. It was horrible. It
Yeah,
was straight out of Black Mirror.
yeah,
War
this is
crime.
very much what has been talked about a lot especially in Ukraine, that the Russians are doing these human safaris.
Yeah, that's what they call
They're
them. Human
sending like
safaris.
drones into like Kherson, which I think
Yeah,
where the sort of the footage was from. And they're just blatantly going after civilians.
yeah,
And this has been
Jesus.
going on for quite some time, not only just
Yeah,
in Kherson, but pretty much anywhere that they have range with these drones. That there just is no care for who they are, really striking. So this has been going on a lot, and at the moment, Ukraine is, as well as it is doing at the moment, they are quite on the back foot because they don't have, mostly again because of America, they don't have now the interceptors now to deal with the ballistic missiles
no,
that Russia is sort of sending against them. So that is a big gap at the moment in their
the
defense
defense. Yeah,
on that one. And luckily, I don't know. I don't know if we talked about this, but Zelensky did actually get a contract, or at least a verbal contract from Trump that they can now start making Patriot missiles. However, the actual manufacturer,
Yeah.
of course,
It
of the
takes
Patriot
5
missile
years.
system didn't even know that until
Oh my
Trump had said
God.
it.
Trump just announces it at a press conference, and I was like, oh, really? Really? Oh, okay then.
So whether that deal actually goes through or not, who knows? Um, it's
This is
wild at the moment, but
crazy.
there is, of course, yesterday Zelensky has called on Putin to like start peace talks, but there has been no response, of course, from Putin, of course, on this,
Yeah.
on that fact. We are looking at Russian elections in the next couple of months, and there are now talks that potentially after those elections, Putin is going to do a launch conscription in these areas, which could massively backfire on him if he
Yeah.
does launch conscription on that one. So that is going to be obviously very, very bad. Ukrainian drones, of course, striking into
Wild berries. I hadn't
wild
even heard of
berries.
wild berries till a couple of months ago, and now it's
Oh
all I
no,
hear
well you
about with
should do.
these.
We talked about wild berries before. This was
Yeah.
the Chechen blood feud. The guy who took over wild berries who just walked in, right, wild, this is mine now, and just went bang and shot the CEO.
What?
Yeah,
That
don't you
happened?
rememthe that?
No. So that was
So
that's
yeah,
their equivalent of Amazon. And then
yes,
what
yeah.
the CEO got shot dead and someone else took over.
Pretty well. It wasn't sort of the CEO. It was like the C like it's not like the CEO, but it's like practically like the next one
Yeah.
of like the CEO of like Wildberries, and this all
Holy
comes down to the
macaroni.
fact that this was like a blood feud that this guy got into with this Chechen guy. Um, but yeah, the story on this is wild. But we did talk about it. I think we talked
Yeah,
about it a
yeah.
couple of months back when it
Yeah.
happened. It's
Well, I
wild,
don't think I clocked
absolutely
the
wild.
significance of wild berries. I was, when the first not factory, what they call warehouse, the first warehouse went up about a month ago now, wasn't it? And then they've just been going after it,
Yeah.
and it's
Well,
affecting everyday Russians, and
this
that's
is
why they're
what
doing it,
they're
isn't it?
this is what they're shifting to now because they've pretty much they're keeping on striking the oil refineries, but now they're like going after right. Well, now we're just going to go after warehousing and just start striking all these warehouses because
Yeah,
that's where you know wild berries is going to start affecting the civilian population. Uh, that's where you might have to like start paying out insurance payments, which the Russian insurance companies probably are not going to be paying out for at some point. It's something insane. Like it's one warehouse was like $28 million worth of goods
yeah,
gone in one strike. I mean, you
it's
can
crazy,
imagine
isn't it?
there's an Amazon warehouse in Doncaster, and you can imagine just what would happen
If
if
that went
that
up, yeah,
went up in flames. That'd be like millions,
yeah,
millions of
yeah,
pounds worth
yeah,
of stuff. And just like Amazon is like acts as a distributor for a lot of
S-
Russian
yeah,
businesses.
smaller businesses, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you remember we've talked about the fact that a lot of Russian businesses, because of the war,
yeah.
are going into some very, very difficult financial
This
straits.
is
So it
crazy
is very
times, isn't it?
likely that because they are striking these
Yeah,
warehouses, you're going to see um, a lot of Russian bankruptcies potentially start to take place of these small businesses because insurance companies, because there's this slew of insurance claims, they might not be able to pay the full amount, or the money will get delayed, or they'll maybe pay it in installments, and these businesses can't, they have to have like the money now to be able to like service debts and etc., or refund customers. So there's a lot of stuff that could go on, and they aren't just striking like wildberries; they're now starting to strike other warehouses as well.
yeah,
So this is them now moving on from that stage because it is very, very much now trying to get like the Russian people, especially in and around Moscow and the St. Petersburg areas, to
yeah,
go, hey, you've not really felt the impacts of the war for the past couple of years. Well, here they are,
yeah.
uh, very, very much home, and they've really been hammering that home that last couple of like within the last year. And I think that is really down to the fact of like you've got these elections, of course, coming up.
Yeah.
So interesting to see what is going to
What,
be
what what happens next?
what's going to
May you
happen
live
on
in
that.
interesting times. Famous Chinese curse made up by Terry Pratchett. Mike Dix in the chat is saying, "Hi, Mike. How you doing?" Is saying the Ukrainians have said their plan is to make it extremely difficult and expensive for Russia to remain in Crimea and Donbass and build pressure at home by taking out fuel and plastic tap from wild berries. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, Crimea for the Russians has gone from a strategic stronghold now to a
well
absolute liability.
let's not forget the reason why in 2014 Vladimir Putin first invaded Crimea was because of the Sebastopol naval base. Forgive me if I'm wrong on this, Ollie. You might have the actual figures, but I do believe that they've moved all the ships out of the
Yep.
Sebastopol naval base to bases in the Sea of Azov because they can't leave them there because they're too close to the Ukrainians who keep
Yeah,
sending in
and they've
drones
lost
to
half
blow
that
shit up.
navy.
Yeah.
Like
So
they've lost over half that navy
the
that they
whole
had prior to
point
the
of
war.
keeping hold or taking and keeping hold of Crimea was because they were concerned with this new president who came in 2014. That wasn't Zelensky, by the way. Zelensky, he came in later on. They thought, oh, we can't control them and we're going to lose this lease. They got this lease, this 100-year lease or 200-year lease, whatever it is, on Sebastopol, and that was coming to an end, and they were worried about losing access to it. And then obviously you've got that narrow strait, which you've got the Kursk bridge that goes over it,
Yeah.
and that is an issue for Russia. If someone else owns the Crimean Peninsula, they kind of had control or semi-control of what ships coming in and out of there. And even if they don't have control of that, they can see what ships are coming in and out of there and report back to NATO if they're a member of NATO. But here's the thing, right? Ships can't come in and out. Military ships can't come in and out of the Dardanelles, can they? The Bosphorus, going in and out of Turkey because
Turkey
of the Montreal proclaimment or whatever that was called of 1975 says military ships can't go through that channel. So this whole thing, it seems to be like the ultimate trying to crack a walnut with a nuclear bomb, and you're like, well, now you haven't got a walnut. What do you even? But the former military commander and current ambassador to Britain, Valery Zaluzhny, I hope I'm saying that right or about right. He said that Ukraine has no realistic chance of joining NATO. This is a story that's in The Guardian today. He says that the Ukraine does not meet the alliance's military standards despite more than a decade of attempted reforms. And he criticised NATO as an organisation still guided by doctrines developed for conventional 20th century warfare. And he's got a bit of a point there.
It's not a 20th century. You've got to remember NATO was designed as essentially as a deterrent to fight against the Soviet Union, and they have not changed. Like they have not really changed since then. But in terms of like the whole warfare argument, we get this all the times of some people come out and say, "Oh, drones are the future," etc. Yeah, it's pretty obvious that drones are going to be sort of a feature on the battlefield. But you've got to remember here, Ukraine and certainly, Russia, they are not sort of, comparable to other, Western militaries that have a lot more electronic warfare capabilities.
Yeah.
And if someone's going to say, "Oh, but Ollie, what about Iran?" Yeah, these places and these bases were not expecting to be struck by drones, so they do not have the electronic warfare capabilities to be able to fight back against that those capabilities. But trust me, like our armies, navies, etc., Air Force, I'm very, very well aware of drones. The British Army has for a while had a drone, an anti-drone unit that have been like practicing against each other on Salisbury. They've been training the Ukrainians, and they've been like getting like the Ukrainians to train them on what they're doing with drone stuff throughout all this war. So there is like our armies and our like NATO know about drones. They aren't ignoring them, And you look at the Leopard 10 that's being proposed by by Germany as like the new replacement for like the main battle tank, which is going to pretty much be the main battle tank at that point for NATO. That has a drone pretty much built into it. The Abrams 10, which is again going to replace the Abrams at some point, if Trump ever gets around to doing it, or they get around to doing it at
But
the
it
moment.
takes a long
That has a
time.
drone as
Yeah,
well.
it takes a long time to get this through. Now, what I was going to say is, I get the argument, right? But the foundational idea of these countries that are part of NATO, paying more into NATO, which is nonsense because you don't pay into NATO, you just spend a proportion of your GDP on defense. And I think under Obama, they came up with this plan for all the countries that are members of NATO, all 32 countries, to be spending 2% of their GDP on defense, right? And you look at it and go, okay, well, fair enough, but what if they're spending it on shit? What if they're spending it on shit that they're not going to use? That's just useless. And this is it. I think they should be being smarter about the way that NATO runs instead of just giving arbitrary figures and saying you have to spend X amount. Well, what are they going to buy? They might buy a bunch of nylon flags and put them up flagpoles, to salute. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? But they can say it's defense spending. So yeah, I do think there's an argument for having a look at the way NATO says, what does each country need to be able to potentially fight a war against
Plus,
what's left of the Soviet
I
Union.
want to point out as well,
Russia.
like drones, like there's this argument, oh, drones are cheap. Drones are not cheap. You look at some of like the drones that Ukraine is now like trying to sell as like some of their successful. Those drones are not cheap. They are they are in like the tens of thousands.
Yeah, but they're
Like
cheap
for one
compared to
drone,
a
they are
Patriot
not. They are not
missile.
cheap.
Yeah, but they're cheap compared to a Patriot missile.
Yeah, cheaper. Yeah, cheaper than compared to a
Or
Patriot
a
missile,
Tomahawk.
but they they are not cheap. The idea that of course drones are quote cheap is a bit of a misnomer because most people think, oh, I can go down to like Curry's
And get
and
myself a
get a
drone.
drone. No, if you got a drone and you flew it like near an RAF base, yeah, watch how quickly it gets taken down. You've got to now replace like all the internal mechanisms. You've now got the Ukrainians in a position where they have engineers on the front lines, like just behind the front lines, where they are
Yeah.
building these drones and they are like field testing and
Yeah.
constantly refining
Well,
all these
Davenate is saying
drones.
they're comparatively cheap. They're not cheap, but like I'm saying, compared with Tomahawks and Patriot
Yeah,
missiles and intergalactic
yeah,
ballistic missiles, continental ballistic missiles, intergalactic,
yeah. But you also look at the
ballistic
logistics
missiles.
capabilities that like you look at the every deliveries you
Yeah,
get now, or that the Ukrainians are doing that. They've been doing it now for over a year with drones to deliver ammo and supplies, and even as like medivacs
yeah,
as well.
yeah,
So
yeah.
there
Fascinating
is
stuff.
there is a lot of capabilities. I think for these drones, they've really started developing ground drones as well,
Yeah,
like mini tank drones, like to
but
help support
I
troops as
yeah,
well. So like, don't get me wrong, there's going to be a lot of um stuff that comes out of this war in and
yeah,
around drones. Absolutely. And that is just technology has massively, in just the last couple of years, jumped forward when it comes to a lot of these technologies. Most of that
absolutely.
has been driven by the Ukrainians going, right, we need to make sure that this drone actually works.
Yeah,
This is why you've seen, fiber optic cables as well. Like I think we've discussed about this before. You see any like photos of Ukraine, you see all these like weird like almost like Christmas lights hanging over like trees. That's the fiber optic cables
yeah.
that are
Well, that's because they were jamming the
they're trying to
signals
get
from
through
the
to get through the jamming
RF
and
signals, weren't
there's a whole host of like improvements and things that they've done
they? Yeah,
in regard to this. They're now creating hunter drones to hunt other drones.
yeah.
That they've got it's massive this field. And bear in mind, there are companies right now in the UK that are opening based on this type of development, to develop this type of technology, because this is what very obviously now things like the MOD are asking for
Yeah,
in this
yeah.
regard.
Well, Mike is saying in the chat the main thing about NATO is a multifaceted, multinational military. Each country has specialities that they focus on, so each member state doesn't have to spread itself thin, which I completely get. But I would like to point out at this juncture, I did a show the other day talking about how everyone talking about Trump being on his last legs. It's always clickbait. It's always copium, and copium's one hell of a drug. When I was in Ukraine a few years ago, I was chatting with a police officer in Lviv, and he said straight up, this war's going to go on for another 10 years. And that's the way they're looking at it. And we get so many videos on YouTube, and I understand why people do it, because you want to get the clicks, you want to get people getting hopeful. But this war, I can't see an end of it anytime soon. I really can't. I can't see an end to what's happening in Iran. I think that's just going to rumble on forever now. They're just going to be taking pot shots at each other.
It will be down to what happens really with Putin. I think that, once the elections happen,
the elections were.
I think very well. They're obviously going to be rigged.
Oh, but, in America. Well, yeah, I was talking about that as well.
Well,
mate.
not in America, but in Russia. I think they're going to be, very, very much, rigged for Russians. And then after that, what's going to happen is Putin is going to basically declare conscription, and then that is when things might start to cause problems. Maybe. Because the Russians do not like conscription at all.
We say this about the Russians not liking this stuff, and they don't like high petrol prices. They don't like
contract.
Yeah,
like the whole social contract with Putin you do your thing, let us get on with our lives and make sure things run and are okay, and you can rule. It's how it has been since he took over. But now with this war, with the pressure the Ukrainians are putting on, the oil, the sort of logistics, bombing, warehouses, etc. on that. If they bring in conscription, that will upset a whole heap of Russians. They are not going to be happy with that, because they have been told time and time again for the past 4 years they will never have this. They will never bring in conscription. They don't need to bring in conscription because this is a special military operation. They are fighting with we're going easy on them. But I think as desperate as they become now, as the more this drags on, Putin will have to implement this. And that's when we might see things start to change on the front line, either positively or even negatively. We don't know what all that massive influx of troops will be. Maybe they might end up mutinying and just go, we're not going to do this. We're not going to suicidally charge across this open field. We ain't going to follow those orders. We don't know what might happen in those regards. It is an absolute mystic meg at this moment I'm making.
I would be very surprised, honestly, if there was a big uprising against Putin, like a popular uprising. I think it's way more likely that one of his mates pushes him out of a window. And it's just because, and this isn't unique to Russia. I feel the same way about America. I feel the same way about the UK. People can put up with a hell of a lot. And I'd mentioned earlier, like copium is a hell of a drug. Do you know what's even a bigger drug than that? Patriotism. Do what you need to do for your country, even if it's living in shit and, being told what to do. But you're doing it for your country, Ollie. And, we're the people who sort of go, I'd rather not do that. We're seen as unpatriotic. We're seen as, people who hate this country. I don't hate the UK. I don't hate England. I don't hate, the same way I don't really hate Russia or Israel. They exist. I'd rather other people were in charge of them. That's it. I don't hate America. Although, that they are a bit loud and obnoxious. Can we just move on the topic a little bit? Because I want to talk about something that happened in India today. So the BJP. Now, if anyone watched India from Afar on Thursday with me and Pranay, we were talking about the cockroach movement, which has grown up in India. And that as a result of that, obviously the education ministers had to resign over there, and we were talking about what would happen next. Well, there's been a by-election in Bankipur, it's where Banksy comes from, which is in the state of Bihar in India, and this has been a seat that's been held by the BJP for 30 years. It's been held since the 90s, right? And the opposition party won. And this is like blowing everyone's mind because they were really, really not expecting this. I mean, I don't even think the winners were expecting this, but it's off the back of the cockroach movement. This huge social media following that it's got people from all different backgrounds in India to back it, and it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy that it's taken off so much, and I am quite. I try not to get carried away, but I'm quite hopeful about this. They've lost this assembly seat, right, in Bankipur, and this is an urban constituency dominated by specific caste groups, which made it one of the most secure seats for the BJP in the country, and it's gone. This is like Trump losing Kentucky. It's that massive. It's like what they can lose here. This is crazy. So yeah, for a party that often projects itself as electorally unshakable, this is very, very damaging for them. And I don't like the BJP, so this is good as far as I'm concerned. Shall we crack on with a few of the other stories that are going on around the world right now?
Yep. I mean, do you want to talk about is it Ceuta? The border crisis that's going on there?
Well, it's pronounced either Ceuta or
Ceuta. Ceuta.
Do you know what? I had to say it in my book, Man of the World, when I was doing the audio book for it, and I couldn't get two pronunciations that sounded the same to me because there's loads of different ways of saying it, which is really irritating because it's like, well, how do you say this place? So 72,000 people now are crossed into this Spanish territory, which everyone seems to think is in Spain. It's not. It's in North Africa. And 70,000 of them has been returned straight away to Morocco. 75 people have died, which is horrific. And Ceuta is a Spanish enclave in North Korea. It sits outside the Schengen area. So it's not like if you get into there, then suddenly, you can get into Norway. No questions asked. But it looks like Spanish and Ceutan officials are that they are accusing Morocco of deliberately relaxing border enforcement to allow this mass crossing to proceed. But
yeah, that's looks what's like has happened, because this has happened in the past. The last time this happened, this was because there was a dissident that had escaped into Spain, and they were helping this dissident, treating him in a hospital. They didn't like the fact, right. Morocco didn't like the fact that this was being going on, and they pushed a load of migrants right again up into the border of there to try and get Spain to de-escalate, to release this guy back into back to their authorities. So it looks like maybe Morocco is responsible for this. Part of me, conspiracy brain, thinks, how is Russia connected to this in any way, shape or form?
Honestly, because I was going to say the same thing, mate.
If anyone wants to cause any trouble in Europe, then it's going to be Russia. I do not believe 1 second for a bit that this is being done by Israel and the US. There is absolutely no evidence at all that this is being done.
But it helps the far right. It helps the far right all across Europe. Spain have fallen out with Italy over this. This is crazy.
I say if anyone's going to try and influence Morocco to try and do this, then it's probably Russia. The question is, of course, what does Morocco, of course, get out of this? Maybe mysteriously they're going to get a load of cash out of nowhere.
Don't forget that Morocco's got territorial ambitions, not just of these Spanish enclaves, that they've wanted for hundreds of years, but Western Sahara. Western Sahara, it's been fighting with Algeria and Mauritania for decades now, since the Spanish pulled out in the 70s for what used to be Spanish Sahara, which is now Western Sahara. They want it, and it's one of those weird places. I've been there, and the people are lovely, but there's no university in Western Sahara. They won't allow it, and well, at the time, I don't know if they have one now, but they don't spend much money on it. They don't look after it much. Morocco has a historic claim over it, but no one's asking the people of Western Sahara what they want. No one's asking them. It's all, well, what does Mauritania want? What does Algeria want? What does Morocco want? But here's something interesting. If you wanted to do a lap of Africa, go around the coast, obviously you couldn't go through Somalia. We all know that. You couldn't go through Eritrea, right? Um, but other than that, you could probably get a decent lap of Africa, but you wouldn't be able to get from Algeria into Morocco. That border's been closed now for a very long time, since the war in the start of the 80s that they had in Western Sahara. So Morocco's got a bit of a history of not getting on with its neighbours, let's say.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine living in a country that doesn't get on well with its neighbours. What must that be like, Ollie?
Oh, who knows what that's like.
But yeah, it does seem a bit weird timing, and the right wing in the UK have had a field day with it, saying, "Oh, why can't we send for people back? They've all been sent back. Why can't we?" I'm like, because you voted for Brexit and we left the Dublin Agreement, and now we can't send people back to France to come across in a small boat. Anyway, I've done that argument to death. I don't think anyone else watching this needs to hear that again. Yeah. We got a super chat in all the way from Hong Kong. Thank you very much to David Faulkner for the 78 Hong Kong dollars. Whole thing orchestrated by the Moroccan government. Some point at Trump and Israel. Right-wingers scaremongering about mass immigration. In reality, they all went home when they didn't have any food. Nonsense. Yeah. It just... in a way, it's a bit of a non-story, but 75 people died, and that's horrible. I think the people who organised this should be brought to account. And if it is state-sanctioned by Morocco, there needs to be some kind of justice meted out. I don't know. And then Lisuin. Thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Pretty much Sanchez got some deals with Algeria, so Morocco got pissy and opened the borders, all blessed by Cheeto Benito. There you go. I love that name for Trump, Cheeto Benito. Thanks for the super chat. Two more, and we will release Bin Feffy. We've got a Bin Face Bin Feffy now. Ollie.
We've got
yeah, we've got Confetti, Boba Fetty, and now we've got Bin Feffy as well. Yeah. Sounds like Israel, great. Well, and Argentina. But Britain for a long time. Come on, let's face it. Do you know what I mean? I don't think the Irish thought much of us for a long time. Did it say my money's on Israel? Well, yeah, I don't know. Why would they do that though? Is that a kind of weapon of mass destruction? Like, I don't. All it's doing is further than the far right in Europe. But yeah, the meanwhile the EU is attacking the regularization, I hope that's the right word, plan for migrants in Spain. The EU Migration Commissioner has criticised the plan to regularize large numbers of undocumented migrants, and he said it could create a pull factor which sends the wrong message following the Ceuta crossing. And Italy, Denmark, and 20 other EU countries have also raised objections. But Spain is saying, look, regularization is a sovereign domestic decision. We need people to come to Spain and work. Our economy is doing really well at the moment, unlike the economies of France and Germany and the UK. What do you want us to do? So I think this is a failure going back a long time with the European Union to tackle the issue of migration as a unit, as a whole, instead of each country fending for itself, and countries like Greece, Italy, Spain being on the coal face, so to speak, and everyone else just sitting back going, that's all right. We'll take 2 refugees a year. We'll be fine. So yeah, I think this is a failure of the EU. That's because the EU is not perfect, even though I'd like to be back in it, Ollie. Obviously, that goes without saying, but like most things, it's not perfect. So yeah, what else we got in the news? We've got the story about the Scottish woman who was found in a suitcase in Athens, and a 26-year-old Afghan man has been accused of intentional homicide. It all sounds really, really scary and messed up. So, British woman on holiday in Greece. Notable because this kind of thing doesn't happen very often. So don't let it put you off your jollies, all right? Not that it's put Andy Burnham off his jollies because he went on holiday today. Don't know how long for. Didn't tell us.
Did you see the Italian jackpot thing? Someone had won the €1 million jackpot
And they
for
threw it in the bin.
their national lottery, and they threw it away. So they've had to help. They've had to get like sanitation workers to go through all the recycling to
They
try
did it,
and bring
didn't
it
they?
in.
Didn't they? They found it though, didn't they?
Yeah, they
They
found
found the
it. Yeah,
ticket and
yeah,
and gave this Italian woman £1 million.
yes.
I
That's
mean,
pretty impressive on
that's
that one.
amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Would you trust a bin crew with an unsigned £1 million ticket? €1 million, €1 million,
Yeah.
€1 million. What's the most expensive thing you've ever thrown away
Indonesia
by
news.
accident? Oh, sorry, go on.
Indonesia has had a massive turnaround. They've announced, because for the first
Yeah.
time ever, they've become a net now producer of food, and they've now no longer in recipient of like aid from like World Food Programs, because they've managed to sort of really sort of make sure that their own solutions for like food security have got off the ground.
Yeah.
And especially on climate reliance, which has been a big one for Indonesia. So they've really come along with that, and that's I think really good, something to sort of celebrate, that they are now in that situation for them. I think that's a really good achievement to celebrate.
Well, this is something that India did, didn't it, in the 20th century after the British left. India was a net recipient of food when the British left, and they managed to turn things around so India could produce enough food for everyone in India and then have some left over to export. But yeah, this is a big food sufficiency milestone. And you know what, Ollie? I've got a feeling that we need to start moving towards this in the UK. We have been a net importer of food since like the 1820s. Like throughout the Second World War, obviously we had to get food brought in. We had the whole dig for victory thing, didn't we, with people growing vegetables in the back garden or keeping a pig. You kept a pig, didn't you, Dad? Yeah. Anyway, but you know, that sort of stuff is it's not enough. It's just not enough. And I think looking at what they've done in the Netherlands, where they have these quite intensive polytunnels where they grow a lot of food, it doesn't look very great. They do the same thing in Spain. It doesn't look good on the hills, the rolling hills. I'm sure people will complain about it like they complain about solar panels, but it might be necessary, especially as the climate changes and we can't necessarily control how much food is coming in. And if we can't feed ourselves, surely that is a point of sovereignty that we should, along with energy itself, we should be pushing for.
Again, I think we can do that already. I think it's just a matter of, at the moment, really technology. I think that's a big thing as well. I think we do need to really look at slaying the green belt, because I think that's a bit of a sacred cow that we need to get rid of.
I was going off on one about the green belt, Ollie, about how you can't build a village, but you can build a motorway junction, which is the size of a village, but serves no function whatsoever except gets people off a motorway earlier.
Again, I look at my town, and my town is surrounded by green belt.
Do you feel trapped? Do you feel trapped? It's like Day of the Triffids.
Well, no, you can't build any houses at all, and we need houses in my town. You know, the population of like my town has massively gone up. We need to build more houses, and we can't, because you can't build it on brownfield development site, because what was the area famous for? Mines. So you've got massive subsidization problems. There's ground, of course. These might be an muck stacks, so the ground isn't sort of suitable, so you'd have to remove all that and put that somewhere else. So that ain't happening here. We're not building on brownfield site development here, and if we are, the areas aren't exactly that big compared to where you probably could elsewhere. So we need to build on greenbelt.
I think we need to slay some sacred cows, don't we, Ollie?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we really do. I think we've got to look at the triple lock for pensioners. We've got to talk about pensions being means tested. We're going to have to do it. We're going to have to bite the bullet with energy self-sufficiency, so we do have enough energy to keep us going. We have to get the new national grid put in. These things are absolutely essential for the future of our country, and someone's going to have to bite the bullet. Why are we in a famine a drought at the moment, and yet golf courses can still use as much water as they want? But you've got a hose pipe. Have you got a hose pipe ban? You won't have a hose pipe ban.
Yes, I think we are in Yorkshire. Yeah.
Oh, are you in the hose pipe ban now? It doesn't. I mean, even if you watered your lawn all the time up in Durham, our lawn's brown as hell because it gets a lot of sun on it, and it's just so hot. I should get invested
Yeah,
in
no,
like a
it's
garden
the same
sprinkler
up
or
here.
something.
There's a lot of very yellow
Well,
grass.
talking of being self-sufficient, if you want this channel to stay self-sufficient, so you don't have to swallow ads all the way through trying to watch whatever we're talking about. We need 2 more super chats in the next 2 minutes, and we will unleash the Binfetti, and Ollie will like that. But I am going to set things up now so that we can send you all off on your merry way to go and see our friend Maximilian Robespierre. But before we do, is any other news, Ollie, that you wanted to pick up on tonight?
Oh, there's been a massive actually major in HIV. So since 2010 to 2026, there's been a 40% decrease in HIV infections.
Wow.
So that's a very successful milestone again to reach, to see that massively come down. So that is again something very good to celebrate on that one.
That's awesome.
Where is it now? I had it somewhere.
Anthony Fauci had a big deal in that, didn't he, with tackling the AIDS?
Yeah.
epidemic.
Oh, did you cover that? Yeah, yesterday. The Fauci
the Fauci
hearing,
taking the fifth.
Yeah,
where he'd been told to take the fifth. That means the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution, the Fifth Element. That movie with Bruce Willis, and he just kept taking the fifth. He just kept saying, "I'm not gonna," because it's self-incrimination, so you can't be forced to incriminate yourself. But because he said at the start, didn't he wasn't going to answer any questions at all.
No, he's not going to answer any questions because Senator Rand Paul and a couple of other these crazy MAGA Republicans really want to put him on trial because they are like, you are responsible for COVID and things like that. And it's no, he's not responsible at all. He helped to save America.
If anything, Trump is
from the worst, stuff. So that trial, what he was saying was, this whole trial is just a massive gotcha. It's an attempt to try and gather evidence so that you can put me on trial. I ain't going to say a thing. If you ask me any question, I'm just going to plead the fifth, to a point where there was a senator just going, what color's the sky? What color's the carpet? And he basically said, yeah, I'm pleading the fifth. I'm not saying anything. There was a point where, of course, he brought his lawyer in with him. Rand Paul, who was running this Senate hearing, actually removes the lawyer. And there's a question now of legality around that. Did he overstep his
But it led to this really surreal moment where Fauci was asked what day of the week it was, and he went, taking the fifth.
Yeah,
what colour tie are you wearing? He went, taking the fifth. And all these Trump people are like, oh, this is dreadful. I mean, Trump did exactly the same thing in the E. Jean Carroll testimony when he was getting interviewed by the police. He says no comment over and over and over again, because that's what you do. You're advised by the lawyers to shut the fuck up. In fact, this is good advice. It's not legal advice, but this is good advice for anyone. If you ever get in trouble with the bill, shut the fuck up. Don't say anything until you've spoken to a legal expert, a lawyer, solicitor, whatever. Don't say anything. Just put in a £2 super chat. Thank you. We only need 1 super chat now, and then we can call it a night. Indonesia winning by being the next Pokemon region. Well, that's quite exciting. So Britain was a Pokemon region, wasn't it, Ollie? It was Galar.
It was Galar. In what?
In Pokemon. So every generation of Pokemon game is based in a different real life place on Earth. So they had one that was based in the first one was based in Japan, and it's based on animals that you find in Japan, right? And flora and fauna that you find in Japan. And then each new generation, there's one that's based in Mexico, there's one based in the UK, there's one that's based in France, and they have Pokemon that are, they've got French names or something if they're from the. So the next region of Pokemon is going to be based on Indonesia and its animals. So there's going to be, we've already got an orangutan of Pokemon, so I don't know what they're going to do with that. Anyway, so we've also got some good news from Andy, who says new research on a cancer cure using tree frog bacterium looks very promising. So this was news out this week about this is like a dual action mechanism that destroys cancer cells from the inside out by using a particular bacterium that is isolated from the guts of Japanese tree frogs. I know this sounds mad, right? And it worked in the petri dishes. It's worked in mice. We don't know if it's going to work in humans yet, but it's really, really promising, because the problem with cancer is your body doesn't recognize it as an external threat. But what this bacteria does, if you put it into the cancer cells, it makes your body recognize it. Well, it makes the mice's body. We don't know if it's going to work for humans, but it makes the mice's bodies recognize it as a threat and attack it. So your own body is taking it out. So it's kind of like a mix of immunotherapy, I guess. Immunotherapy and gut bacteria from a frog. A Japanese tree frog. Isn't that amazing? Nature is amazing. Here's one for Ollie's autograph, please, says Sarah. Ollie, I should have come and met you in the pub on Sunday, shouldn't I? Because you were there in the pub with Chris and with Ed. Yeah, in Yorkshire. Meeting up. Did you do like a Yorkshireman skit? Did you sit there going, well,
we can't, because Ed's technically not from Yorkshire. So.
I know, but anyway, and Reverend Kathy, thanks for the super chat as well, says, here's for your bin Feffy. So I guess we're going to have to unleash the bin Feffy then. So here we go, just to end the show. Hey, hang on a sec. Oh no, Ollie, I've made a critical error.
Oh no.
Just like the Emperor in the Return of the Jedi, I picked up the wrong animation from my other show. I've got the right one now. It's okay. We're all right now. And let's go. So this is for Reverend Kathy and Sarah and Pun. Everybody else, Puninator, irony of Graham telling others to shut up. This is for you. This is for you all. Bim Feffy. Bim Feffy! Yay! Yay, Bim Feffy. Woo! Get a thumbs up. Woo! We're all hoping for the best for Bin Face. He's on 20% on recent polls. Yep. That's a big chunk of the vote for a Joe.
Yeah, Campbell. No, that's quite big. I am hoping. I hope he gets more than 25% of the vote, because that will be great.
Yeah. Puninator says there's not one based on Mexico, Graham. It's Japan, New York, France, Hawaii, UK, Spain, and Indonesia. Sorry, I must have gotten the Spanish one mixed up with the Mexican one. Sorry. But there was a Pokemon that you could only get in Mexico. I'll have you know. On Pokemon Go, anyway. And Farsight is putting us right that actually most cancers are defeated by the body's own immune system. Yeah, but it's the ones that get through that cause problems. Yeah. And we'll sign off on Graham Price saying, put your vote in the bin. Yeah, couldn't agree more. Right, I'll be back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock for Morning Brew. Are you doing some stuff on your channel, Ollie Bowlerhatman?
Yes, I am at the moment. I've probably got a interview with someone from Wakefield possibly coming up about the Wakefield Reform councillors who tried to shut down a music festival. So I've got that coming up soon. I'm just trying to get the dates and whatnot sorted out. So yeah, hopefully we'll be talking about that soon on there.
Fantastic.
Other than that, we've got more reform nonsense going on, but we are now entering the recess period, so that might sort of get quite a bit on that front. But we'll be talking about some other fun stuff at the moment. Kimmy Badenoch's having a purge of the Tory party, which is quite interesting at the moment.
Anyone who thinks that net zero is a good idea is on the way out. This is a bit like
not only just net zero, but you've got to confirm that you are going to leave the European Court of Human Rights as well.
This is like when they purged all the people who thought that leaving the EU might be a bad idea for Britain. Yeah, so it's all that again. So there you go. So thanks very much for watching. Thanks very much to my wonderful co-host Ollie over in Yorkshire. And from historic Lancashire, I'll say thank you for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye. Bye.